Okay, let's go. Welcome to the channel. Fuck, how am I gonna start this thing? The problem isn't that you're working hard. That's not why your situation is the way it is. It's what you're working for. The currency that you are using, the rand, the dollar, whatever it is you may be working for. That is the problem. The problem isn't you. It's that you're working for the wrong type of money. The only real form of money is this. Let me get it quick. It's this. This is a silver coin. This is money. Why do I say that? Because the money that you work for, the fiat currency, the government money, loses value every single day. It's just how it's structured. It's how the system works. Whenever something goes wrong, what happens is they have to print more money. That's how the system operates. It's based off money printing. So every time something bad goes on, the governments come, they collude. There's a book by a very smart lady called Collusion. And what Nomi Prince shares in this book is that governments or central banks all over the world work together. If the US government announced a rate cut, meaning that they're going to start printing more money, all other Federal Reserve banks or reserve banks around the world do the same thing. That's why if there's inflation in the US, there will be inflation in SA. Because when you go against the order, you disrupt the markets significantly. Some countries print faster than others, but they all print. You're supposed to print. It's expected. Because these people have gone to the same schools, they've discussed the same topics. They see each other every weekend. These people are peers. They understand that in order for the system to work, everyone must be a part of it. It's called the Gross Universal Cash Heist. All these governments, remember, a reserve bank is not a government entity. It's a private company. It's a private company owned by private shareholders who don't need to be disclosed. And they control all the money in the world. How does that work? How have we come to the point where that is allowed? It's crazy. The reason this is allowed is because people don't know. I am a fourth year accounting student. Not once have they shared these ideas. And you would expect it to happen. Because accounting is essentially it's money. The flow of money. Keeping track of the flow of money. But they don't explain where the money comes from. They just say the bank gets a loan or this company got a loan from the bank. But where does the bank get the money? The bank, the commercial banks, there's two legs for this thing. They are the reserve banks and they have the commercial banks. The reserve banks are the big banks. These are the people who come up with money out of thin air. They change a couple of digits on a laptop and money is created. And what they do is called quantitative easing. Crazy. What they do, they go to the commercial banks, the normal banks, the banks me and you see, the ABSA, Capitec, FNB. These banks, these commercial banks, usually they own government bonds. They buy government bonds. Whenever the government needs money, they issue bonds. A bond is basically a loan. The government asks for a loan, and if you grant them the loan, they give you a piece of paper that says, we owe you. So what happens is the banks buy these government bonds, right? Remember, it's an asset. It's an asset for the banks. And now the big banks, the Federal Reserve banks, approach these commercial banks and say, okay, I will buy these bonds from you. I'll give you cash, you give me the bonds. But where does the Federal Reserve get its money? Nowhere. It makes it up. It's not real. So now what has actually happened? The government has got money. The commercial banks have received cash. And now the Federal Reserve holds bonds, government bonds on their balance sheet. And here's what's crazy. Every single year, the Federal Reserve Bank's balance sheet increases in size. What does that mean to the layperson? That means Every year, they keep printing more money. They keep buying more government bonds. And they say, we have a VAT increase. They say there's a shortfall, there's a deficit, 60 something billion deficit. And the only way to increase or to decrease it is to increase VAT. Okay. The thing is, you don't even have to. Just print more money. But the idea behind taxes is that it creates a system of trust within the economy. If the governments could just print as much money as they want, we would have hyperinflation. So what happens now? Instead of printing all the money they need, they tax its citizens through VAT, through income tax, all these different forms of taxes, right? It's just it's to create the illusion of strength in the currency that we use, and this is across the board. The problem with Zimbabwe had hyperinflation. They didn't do it properly. They were too eager. They printed too much too quickly. You need to understand, these people target maybe 2-3% inflation every year. What is inflation? In simple language, inflation is an inflation of how much currency there is in the economy. They've increased the money supply by 2% every year, and it's compounding. Remember, it's compounding. Understanding compound interest is crazy. If I have 100 Rand today, and it compounds and they give me interest and it goes to 110 Rand the next day, now 2% or 10% on that, it's 11. You understand? In the first example, the interest was 10%, right? Which was 100 or which was 10 Rand. In the next example, the interest is still 10%, but now the actual Rand value is 11 Rand because you compound it. It's the capital portion and it's the interest portion. So if they are printing 2% every single year, imagine how quickly that adds up. And the system only works because everyone does it. Zimbabwe went out and it did it on its own. That's why they had hyperinflation. But what actually happens? All the governments do it at the exact same time, so that it happens globally. It's called the Gross Universal Cash Heist. It's crazy. So how do you protect yourself under the Gross Universal Cash Heist? You buy precious metals, gold, silver, Bitcoin. That's it. That's it, because every year, every day, this becomes more valuable. Right? Because this is real money. Gresham's law states that when bad money enters the system, good money goes into hiding. This is good money. People are saving this. We don't save rands in our bank account. We save this. We take physical ownership. If you save money in a bank, what happens if that bank fails? It's called a buy-in. What does that mean? That means that if the bank fails, all the money that you had in the bank gets converted into bank stock. They don't give you your money back. They give you, let's say you have 100K in FNB and something happens and the markets are spooked and there's a run on the bank. The bank closes its door legally. They can't do that. They close the banks and now they convert your cash into bank shares. What's the main idea behind a share? It's you've received funding, but you don't have to pay a dividend. When you do pay a dividend, the shareholders are entitled to receive it, but you don't have to declare it. Are you seeing what I'm saying? That means you will never really get your money back. You know what's crazy? If you go to a bank and you ask them for a loan to buy their own shares, if I go to FNB and I say I want to buy FNB shares, please give me a loan, they won't allow it. But if I go to the bank and ask for a loan to buy a different company's shares, they'll find a way to make it happen. Why? Why? That's the question I will leave you with. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. The system is so complex, the financial system. That's what I'm attempting to do today, or through the IBS radio station. How cool is it to say that? What I'm trying to do is decode the financial system in a way that everyone can understand. You don't have to be an accounting student to understand what the hell I'm talking about. I make it simple for everyone. For everyone. Because we won't free people by giving them grants, by giving them money. You free people by giving them information. Why do they make insider trading illegal? It's because people have access to different levels of information. It's the information that changes. Information is what changes. Right? Do you think Warren Buffett has the same amount of information as a regular investor? No. No, that's why Warren Buffett can get rich when there's a crash. He can get rich when there's a boom. Doesn't matter. Warren Buffett keeps getting rich because he has access to different information. The average person will never get access to that type of information unless it is shared to them. Unless they make it a pursuit to get access. Right? You find yourself sitting next to a person who can give you just enough information for you to move on to the next person. It's a transfer of information. They said that the revolution will not be televised. It's because it will be spoken through information, right? And the realization will happen in your own head. It's information that we should be after. When you learn something, you share it. That's how it's supposed to work. Right? But yeah, I've said a lot today. This is the first of many. Everything lives on the internet. You have to give yourself access to the internet. That's it. I'm staring into the lens right now. The lens is basically the eye for the internet. How crazy is that? You know how far technology has come. Today you can have your own radio station from your bedroom, right? You just need access to capital to buy the equipment and stuff, right? You find a way to make it happen, and then you can have creative freedom as to what you talk about. That's the whole idea. But this is the first of many. I enjoyed doing these things, you know. If you like it, share it, subscribe, whatever. Doesn't matter too much. I don't do this for the validation. I just do this to share information. I know things, so I feel the urge to share. It's crazy. Thanks for watching, man.